third video in the series. This one will be a bit different. For one thing, we're using JavaScript, and we're using this library I really like called 3JS. This is a little template I've created. The important part for us is these two functions here, create sphere and create cube. They'll let us create a sphere or a cube in different locations in 3D space. Just to give you an example of that, we'll have create cube here. Now, the three parameters you can put in there are x, y, and z. Let's start with just 0, 0, 0, so we can see a cube on the screen. There's a cube, looks good. If, for instance, we put 10 in for x, that will push the cube over to the right by 10. All right, see that? There's a cube, looking good. If I put something in here for the y, that will push the cube up that much. If it's negative, it will push it down. So let's say 10 again for y. You see it's up here. For z, the bigger the number, the farther back it will be. So if I put 10 in here, the cube seems a little bit smaller. And that's all. All right, so that's create cube. Create sphere works exactly the same. In fact, we'll use create sphere. I think it looks a bit better. And what we'll do is we'll try to go through these goals. The first one is to create a cube. All right, and I'm going to make this cube. I'm going to have a variable called size, and that's how big this cube will be. If it was size 10, I'm saying I want a 10 by 10 by 10 cube. In fact, I'm going to go with 11 because I want there to be a middle value, especially for this one here. These are the different shapes we'll make. All right. And that's because if it's size 10, well, I could have 5 on one side and 5 on the other side, but I have no middle value. If it's 11, I can have 5 on one side, 5 on the other side, and a middle value. All right. So I'm going to start it up. If I write for let I equal 0, I is less than size, I plus plus, and then have something like create cube using I, what do you think will happen? Let's see it. All right, you can see these should be going away from us actually. You can't, it's tough to tell, but yeah. They are sort of going away from us. We have this little cube, it's kind of cool, right? But what we want to do is we want these variables to represent x, y, and z. And so instead of using I'm going to actually use x here, all right? And instead of having a create cube here, I'm going to use it inside of another 2 for loops. So I'll copy this for loop, and I'll copy it twice. All right, and I'll make another one even. And I'll change this to x, this to y. So I need to change this also. And this to z. All right, and now create a sphere this time. I think the spheres look a bit better. Create sphere and x, y, z. Let's see it. Good, and we have our full sphere. Now, if I wanted to center this on the screen, I could. One way to center it would be to find the final object, how far it is, and move that over by half, so it'd be centered. I don't want to do that actually because I want us to be able to see through it. I think it works well like this. But it looks pretty cool, right? What I'm going to do is now, well, that's actually it. For us to create a cube, that's all we have to do. And maybe I'll even just save this here. So this is all we have to do to create a cube. Now, how about for a box? I'd love for you to take a sec and try to figure this out on your own. It is quite interesting. All right, I hope you've done that. So now what we need to do is figure out situations where, let's do the left and right sides first. So just for the left side, how do you think you do that? You might think that you want all of the x values, because definitely we're talking about one certain x value. And if I do this, so if I have create sphere, sorry. And I create sphere, and I have x equals 0, and then y, z, this will actually work. And you see, I do have the left side of it. The problem is I actually have a bunch of cubes in the same location, because all of these are 0. And so it's printing a cube every single time. All I actually need is an if statement. So if I have if x equals 0, then I want to create that cube here. Create that sphere, sorry. And I can just put an x here. Here. It still works, but I don't have like spheres on top of spheres. All right, how about the other side? How do you think you do that? Well, you might have figured out that's still going to be when x equals something. It's going to be when x equals, if I wrote size, I don't get an error here, but there is a problem. Nothing will happen. Why is that? Well, it's because size is 11, and the final object that we have in here is only to 10, right? It goes from 0 to 10. Once again, it's index. So I do have to subtract 1 off of here, and we get the other side. All right, try to finish the box. All the other sides of the box. Well, you might have noticed that we can just copy this off here. Copy all of that. Maybe I'll just put down here, this is for x. This is going to be for y. And this is going to be for z. All right. All right, so this is the x's. Here's the y's. And here's the z's. All right, let's see how that looks. We got a box. Looks pretty cool, right? All right, I'm going to, I won't save this one just because it will look kind of messy and a bunch of stuff. All right, so next we have our box. It's checked off. How about making this x here? How do we do that? Well, the first part, so it would matter which ones we use. If we use like the z values, we could get the x sort of going away from us. But to get x like this, we actually want to use the x and y values. This one's going to be a bit easier than this one. All right, take a second and try to think about how are we going to make this x. All right, I hope you had to think. So the first thing is we'll create the cube. We'll create the sphere. It looks a little better. What I want is when x equals y. When those are the same, then I want to create this cube. So we'll create sphere. Sorry, create sphere. It should be if x equals y. In that situation, we'll want to create the sphere. And the sphere will just be x, y, z. So just in these situations, we'll want to create a sphere. Let's see that. And great, we do have this. It's going up. Now we need the other side. So to figure these sort of problems out, what would this first value be? Well, it's going to be when the x value equals 0, right? And what is the y value equal? Well, it's going to equal its maximum, right? So it would be over here, actually. So the x value is at its minimum, and the y value is at its maximum. How about the next one over here? Well, now we've subtracted 1 off of x. Sorry, we've added 1 to x, and we've subtracted 1 off of y. And you might notice we have a pattern. So, and that's always, when you have problems like this, you're always looking for what is the pattern. Pattern is, if x plus y equals 10, at the maximum value, then we want to print this out. Create sphere x, y, z. And instead of writing 10, I should write size minus 1. Great. And you can see we have our x. Looks pretty cool. All right. This one's pretty short. Maybe I'll just save it in box. I'll put it down there and put it inside box. All right. The next one is going to be for, actually I'll use box again. So I'll just undo that. So this one right here, we can use it for this. So how are we going to go from having this x to adding in these middle values? Well, you might have noticed that this is just going to be when x is divided by size, let's divide by 2, right? So if x divided by 2, if x equals size divided by 2, then again we want to print everything out, create sphere, x, y, z. And we also want to do the same for y, so when it's going down. And you could do these things, if you use it with x, with z, you could get a cool pattern and stuff also, but this should be pretty good. And let's see what that looks like. Did I save everything? When x equals size divided by 2, oh, the problem here is I need to change this to an integer. So right now it's a floating point number. So if I make it into an integer, so parse int, and this will round it down. And we have our design. All right, I hope this was interesting to you. Pretty cool looking, hey? The reason we had to do this is what the 11 divided by 2 gives us 5.5. When I change it to an int, we get rid of everything that's not a full number, so then we only get 5. The 0.5 is just taken off, and now this works correctly. All right, thank you so much. I hope this made sense to you, and I hope you enjoyed it and you really understand multi-dimensional arrays.